Since Dustin Ferguson has taken over my programming schedule, he's lined up bad movie after bad movie for me to watch. So this month's Unanswered Questions video, you don't get much worse than the movie that has been named the best worst movie, and we're talking about Troll 2. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't have any questions about that movie that really haunt me. I didn't really ask for this, but I'm doing it anyway as a show of hospitality. And, you can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it. Although, what am I really gonna do? It's not like I can come to your house and stop you. And honestly, you can piss where you want. Oh my God. Question number 1. Why is it called Troll 2? So probably the most ridiculed thing about Troll 2 is the fact that it's called Troll 2. It's billed as a sequel to Troll, which was a movie about a troll. And yet Troll 2 features no trolls. The villains are instead goblins. The word troll is actually never said in the movie once. And yeah, it's not a sequel. There's no connection between the two movies. In fact, Troll 2 was originally titled Goblins, which I think that everyone can agree would be a slightly more appropriate title. But once the film was completed, the distribution company that picked the movie up decided that it needed an extra boost. They wanted to connect it to an existing IP in order to try to increase sales. And Troll was just sitting there with its easily digestible title and marketability, so there you are. Simple enough. It's just a case of market familiarity. But is that it? Is it really not connected? Well, yeah, it's absolutely not. But can't we just make something up? Can we just do what we always do and theorize? Of course, it's what we're here for, isn't it? So what if it actually is a sequel? In the first Troll movie, Turok the Troll used his ring to turn the various apartments into fantasy realms, complete with mythical inhabitants. We see him turn at least 3 different rooms into these realms, and we never see them destroyed, or what happens to the animals and things that reside there. Even if they were collapsed at the ending of the film, Turok survived, possibly going on to create more of these worlds. Who's to say that the goblins are not creatures that managed to escape from one of those rooms, getting loose into the world? It could have happened after the first movie, in Turok's adventures after, or possibly during the first movie, in a downtime between transforming the tenants and the finale. So there, yeah, Troll 2 is a direct sequel to Troll 1. It doesn't actually feature any trolls, but the goblins that it does have are a result of the trolls' interference in our world. You're welcome, shady distributors. Question number 2. What's the deal with Grandpa Seth? Grandpa Seth is a big part of Troll 2, with his ghost helping Joshua along the way, but there's something weird going on with him. Let's review. For some reason, Grandpa Seth only appears to Joshua, although we never know why. It's clear that he can appear to the rest of the family, such as when he shows up in the wrong room and Holly sees him, and at one point in the movie, he can literally freeze time. Like, he can stop the flow of time for 30 seconds, even though it's actually over a minute. Later in the movie, he can full-on interact with the physical world, so he can take a form, and the goblins can see him. And this one tells him to go back to his kingdom of shadows and orders him to go back to hell? But then Joshua asks if he's really in hell, to which he responds that he's not, but he learned a trick from someone who was there, and then he shoots lightning from his hand and kills a goblin. This seems to take all his power away, I guess, and a seance is then needed to contact him, but then he reappears at the end to help to save the day. So What's his deal? Why do his powers seem so wonky? How does he even know about the goblins anyway? Let's break it down. In the beginning of the movie, Seth is telling Joshua a story about the goblins, and it's stated that Joshua didn't start having these goblin dreams until his grandpa's death. But Josh's mom hasn't heard of the goblins before.
Michael?
Yeah?
Who are the goblins?
So Seth never sat down and told her stories about them, but now he's suddenly warning about them left and right, so it's clear that Seth's interest in stopping these guys was posthumous. And he did die, and I hate to break it to you, but Gramps went to hell. There's the Goblin Guy's comment about the Shadow Kingdom and telling him to go back to hell. Not to hell, back to hell. And Gobby seems to have some sort of extra knowledge of these sort of things. It's not just some random taunt that he throws out. It's pretty specific, but maybe he was lying to get under their skins. I mean, it could be, but when Joshua asks, he does say no, but he indicates that he actually was in hell at one point. I think it went something like this. I believe that Seth's death was actually the work of the goblins, and for whatever reason, Gramps went down below. I mean, the rules are pretty arbitrary. Depending upon what book you're going by, if Seth ate a lobster roll, boom, straight to hell. There, because of the method of death, he's enlisted by someone down below, the friend that he mentioned, that clearly has some sort of grudge against the goblin kind and Credence, some sort of demonic rivalry. Tasked with defeating them on Earth with the help of the family, Seth is granted some powers to do so. I mean, it's not like he really knows how to use them, which kind of explains why everything doesn't really seem to work that well when he does use his powers. Want some proof that Seth is not really a saint? In the end, when the idea is to put your hands upon the stone and use the power of goodness, Grandpa Seth doesn't actually touch the stone. And it has nothing to do with not being able to interact with the physical world. Dude literally just handed Joshua a backpack. He can't touch it because he's in hell, the opposite of goodness. If you want a happier gloss to this, take the notion that this was his task of redemption, and as long as he set the family on the right path, he'd get a ticket out of hell. And when he fades away, in the end, perhaps that's what's happening. He made things right. But one thing's for sure, Gramps has a dark side. I mean, let's face it, are we really believing that he accidentally popped up in the teen girl's mirror at night? Question number 3. Is this all supposed to be a comedy? Let's face it, it's one of the funniest films ever made. Every single scene is just a total oddball farce of weird interactions between people that shouldn't exist and over-the-top performances, but was any of it intentional? Well, it would be completely naive to think that there wasn't some element of comedy that was intended. Take the corn scene, for instance. I mean, there's exactly zero chance that this was done to be a serious moment in the film. There's also some bits that are disputed. Taking a look at Credence, for example. Deborah Reed doesn't just chew the scenery, she blows bubbles with it. And Fragasso has claimed in interviews that certain elements of the film have been misunderstood and were intentionally funny, and cites the character of Credence as one of these things. And it's not hard to see that that's the truth, but it's reported that it was a very difficult set to work on since none of the crew spoke any English, and the cast often had no clue what was going on in the scenes since their direction was being given in a broken form of the language. Deborah Reed, who played Credence, says that she received very little direction in the movie and basically just had to wing it. In fact, most of the cast says that they got no information on set on how to perform, only that they were not allowed to improv at all and had to read the confusing lines exactly as written, no matter how awkward. Fragasso denies this though, and once during a panel referred to the cast as dogs, which is apparently what Italians call bad actors, and says that they are all lying about their experiences. It's not helped by the fact that Claudio has both claimed that the film's humor was intentional, but has also stated that the film was intended to be 100% serious. And I think the answer lies in the documentary Best Worst Movie. After seeing the film with an audience after the film's renewed cult status, the director appeared disheartened and defeated, confused by why the audience was laughing at moments that he did not intend comedy. It stresses that even though I think he absolutely intended some humor within the film, much of what has made the film the phenomenon that it is today was absolutely not.
Oh my God!
Question number 4. But why the Waits family? So here's what the goblins do. They don't eat meat. So their whole tactic is to convince people to eat this special cursed food that they have, which turns people into some sort of goop that's, I guess, plant-based, and then they eat them. And now they've lured the Waits family to their town of Nilbog, which, hey, did you know that Nilbog is goblin spelled backwards?
Nilbog! It's goblin spelled backwards!
They lure them there and go through tremendous lengths to get them to eat their food. But here's the question. Why? Getting people to come to their town seems to involve a lot of work and effort. Setting up this weird vacation exchange and planning all that, what's the point? And then when it seems like the family is resistant, they really press to make it all happen, but like, why this one particular family? And why do they act so patient? Once the family is in the town, there's no need for subterfuge. Just gang up on them, force feed them, and enjoy your feast. Look at all the food that they have to create in order to try to secure this one meal of this family. They had to make all of this. All the time spent making this feast for them seems counterproductive. Gobs, there's people everywhere, and in case you haven't noticed it, Americans love to eat. If you're required to make this much food in order to turn one family into a meal, then just make your own damn food. I mean, you're just vegetarians. There's lots of food to eat. This whole thing about specifically turning humans into a type of plant isn't really needed, especially if you're making more food than you're getting. Unless they specifically needed this one family. Unless they weren't just some random group of city folk that they lured out to their village and just figured, oh well, they're not cooperating, better find a way to make this work. The fact that Seth was warning Joshua about goblins prior to everything about to happen was an indication that there's something bigger going on. We know that Seth is obviously some sort of special dude as far as goblins go, since they know him when they see him, so perhaps it's something about them in particular that's needed. That's why they specifically reached out to them to come to their village. I mean, there has to be some reason they do this instead of, just eating vegetables. Like, you're out there in your own little town. It seems a lot easier to just farm and raise your veggies and do that instead of luring people out there in the middle of nowhere to make them eat your weird green food in an effort to turn them into vegetables, a resource that we already have access to eat. I guess that at one point Seth says that the goblins' favorite food is half man and half plant, which would seem to indicate that they prefer that it's still partially human, but come on, look at this transformation from later. What part of this looks still human? It's just a pile of goo. But I guess that Seth also says that the goblins are just pure evil, so they just don't care about semantics, and they want to do the most evil thing that they can think of, and that's make people into goo and eat it, even when there's easier options available. And because of some mystical link, which may or may not have been the reason Seth died in the first place, they really need to do this to the Waits family. Question number 5. What's up with Elliot and his friends' sleeping arrangements? Holly here has a boyfriend named Elliot, and he has 3 friends, Brent, Arnold, and Drew. When the family is headed away for a month, Holly invites Elliot up with them, and he just asks his friends, and I think they just rent this RV to head up to wherever she's going. He convinces his friends to go with him by telling them that the town that they are going to has lots of beautiful single women there, and they pretty much bring this up every time we see them. Later on in the movie though, we see Elliot and Brent snuggled up to each other in bed with their shirts off. So is there something more to the relationship than it appears? Earlier in the movie, Holly accuses Elliot of being gay since he'd rather spend more time with his friends than with her. So is this because he's actually in a relationship with one of them? But then Elliot sure seems to try to hook up with Holly every chance that he can get, and Brent jumps at the chance to hook up with the now sexy Credence. So it would seem that the entire insinuation of him being gay comes from wanting to spend too much time with his friends and that one bed scene. And I mean, come on, if you can't want to hang out with a bunch of buddies without being accused of being gay for some reason, isn't that a bit silly? And also, come on, if you can't just sleep in a crowded RV in probably the only bed that the thing has next to one of those buddies, and both you take your shirts off and snuggle real close, then... Wait. Oh, okay. Now I see it. Question number 6. What happened to Brent anyway? Later on in the movie, Brent is left alone in the RV, just hanging out and watching TV by himself, and he's approached by Credence, now in hot seductress form, and she's brought that most passionate and intimate of foods, corn. By this point, she has already turned Arnold into a tree and chopped him up, and they've turned Drew into goo and presumably eaten him. Now, it's Brent's turn as the Goblin Queen seduces him with that sensual cob. He's then buried in a mountain of popcorn as things get hot, and he eats some of the corn, so he's dead, right? What happens to him? Luckily for Elliot, his bedfellow is still alive. How do I know this? First of all, check out the corn. It is just a regular ear of corn, regular in color and normal looking. All of the other food designed to goopify humans is green tinted. Even the corn on the dinner table in the earlier part of the film had some sort of greenish butter on top of it. So I would assume it was that turned you into slop. I mean, why else would they put it on there? If you could just use regular corn, then you would just do that instead of putting something green on it, reducing the chances of a normal person eating it. Because I hate to tell you, but if you pass me something with green butter on it, the odds of me eating it are going to go dramatically down, Sam I am. So he just eats regular corn, and you can tell this from the last time that we see him. Our final shot of Brent is in the RV, covered in popcorn and very much alive. Note that the telltale green goop that apparently comes streaming off your forehead when you eat their cursed food is not there. He's not melting. And he didn't turn into popcorn either. He raises up his arms and just brushes that stuff off. No, Credence was in the process of setting him up to kill, but then was interrupted by Joshua and Seth's tampering with Stonehenge, and she's called away, saving Brent's life. He's not even stuck up there since he still has the RV to use to get back to civilization. And he doesn't have to face off against the goblins like the family does, or Elliot does, and apparently gets to have sex. So I mean, out of everyone, he gets to chill in a camper in the woods, watch ridiculous movies, get laid, eat popcorn, and then go home. Brent not only survives, but my dude thrives. Question number 7. How did the goblins survive at the end? After the Waits family bands together and uses their goodness powers to deactivate Stonehenge, all of the goblins are vanquished and vanish, so they return home. Well, some of them. Joshua and his mom go to the house, but Dad decides to pass by the office. Elliot and Holly go to Elliot's house, so it's just the kid and his mom at home, and Mom eats an apple as soon as they get in. Shortly after, it's revealed that Mom has been turned to goo, as there's green goop all over the shower, and there's a pack of goblins eating her in the kitchen. But weren't they destroyed? Aren't they all gone? This might be controversial, I guess, but they're gone. When they do the rock thing, they're all wiped out. So what is all of this at the end? Simple. It's a dream, a nightmare that Joshua is having. It's in theme with the film, considering he has a similar vision in the car earlier. And it's pretty obvious that he's still quite afraid. But why do I think this? Well, for starters, there's no reason for them to be alone in the house. They were on vacation for a month, and they were only away for like a day or two. It's not like his job was expecting to hear from him or had something for him to do. I suppose he could have been dropping by the office to let them know that his vacation was canceled, but did he have to do that before he even walks in the front door? Beyond that, they go inside and Mom eats that apple and then goes to the shower. Joshua is in his room for about 2 minutes and then finds his mom's goop in the bathroom. There really wasn't enough time to eat anything more than that apple, and hell, probably not even enough time to finish that. But then, like 2 minutes later, she's a pile of slop. Meanwhile, earlier in the film, Drew ate a cursed sandwich and then drank the infected milk, and even then, it took a while for him to show signs of further melting down. And yet, an apple, or part of an apple, causes a full Emil from RoboCop to happen in a fraction of that time. Plus, that apple is red. No green stuff. Remember what we said about the corn? Same applies here. So, there. Troll 2 actually has a happy ending.
Oh my God!
Question number 8. Was there ever any more? In terms of movies called Troll, this was pretty much it. There were 2 different movies that were released in some areas as Troll 3. One of these was Crawlers, which I featured in my Troll timeline and has nothing to do with Troll 1 or 2 or anything at all. It also had no troll and also no goblin. The second was Quest for the Mighty Sword, which was alternately part of the Ator series, and I suppose I'll cover it when I do those. It's also completely unconnected to either film, but does actually feature a goblin of sorts, since it reuses some of the masks from Troll 2, but it's really not in continuity with it or anything. And while filming Troll 2, Fragasso had wanted to make a sequel and wanted to shoot a promo for it with Joshua running into a McDonald's, but of course that didn't happen at the time. After the film received a second life with its viral cult status and new title of Best Worst Movie, Claudio again toyed with the idea of doing a follow-up and held a contest to name it. The winning entry was Troll 2 Part 2, but for whatever reason, that also never happened. But there is as close a sequel as there's going to be with 2019's Under Control, which I guess was also called Troll's World. It's a German film and actually does have a troll in it, but also has George Hardy in it.
You can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it.
And he's actually playing Michael Waits. So it's clearly pulling itself into that continuity. He says that 25 years ago he encountered what he calls trolls of the night and says that they killed his wife. So I guess this is saying that the ending was actually true, but I'm not going with it. This is not canon. But with the exception of the Michael character being included and talking about his experiences, it's otherwise unconnected. The troll of this movie isn't related to the one from the first movie, nor is he a sort of goblin from the second. It's just another adventure that Mr. Waits has been involved in. But if you want to view it as the official sequel to Troll 2, go ahead. Says it seems like the closest that we're going to get to an actual continuation. So there you have it, 8 questions about a movie you probably never had questions about, except that one question of why. But I hope you enjoyed this anyway. I hope you had a lot of fun with it. I know I did. I find Troll 2 to be a heck of a lot of fun. It's a very enjoyable movie. I do love it. If you have other questions about it, or if you disagree with any of the answers that I've given, let me know down below in the comments. If you've liked this video, of course, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you enjoy the channel, and go to my Patreon page if you want, at patreon.com/movietimelines, where you can help support this channel and keep it going and keep making more videos. But in the meantime, just please keep on watching those videos and sharing them out to your friends. I certainly appreciate that as well, too. And we'll see you very shortly for another great one. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.